a friend, Pranada Devi Dasi. Some of you might know her. A little bit of verb, yeah, see what you can do. When she heard that we were going to serve the GBC, her comment was, well, good luck. And she gave me this beautiful picture of Srila Prabhupada's feet to protect me. And whenever I speak, which isn't right now often, but I was speaking a fair amount, I always have it with me. I've never actually spoken to a large crowd of devotees without it. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padastaya Buddhale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sanyavani Pasyacha Deshatarane Panchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Vichapatitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. We're going to start today in a moment. It's been written by Srila Prabhupada and by predecessor acharyas also, that as one makes more and more advancement, one feels themselves more fallen. And therefore we see the greatest of our acharyas expressing themselves in very strong ways about being fallen. Of course, they're giving us an example to do that. There is another side to feeling that way that one should also have. It's kind of interesting to me that one of the verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that is my most favorite, or among the most favorite, is a very, very simple verse. So I'd like to share it with you as one of the overall overarching moods of devotion. Okay? So what do I do? Just touch this? Or use my clicker? Or so this is just a simple verse. No purport to it. Okay. And this is just a very simple verse. After bathing in the river Kaveri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the temple of Ranganath and offered his ardent prayers and obeisances. Thus, he felt himself successful. So just think about that. If we get our 16 rounds done and we've done a nice job, we should feel successful. If we've read something in Srila Prabhupada's books, we should feel successful. If we've done some meaningful service, we should feel successful. Every single little step that we take toward our eternal serving mood, we should also feel somewhat successful. Okay? So I'd like everyone to consider that. No, right now we want to do the little questions, if you think. You want to say that too? Do the question thing.
Hare Krishna devotees. So if there are any reflections or questions from last night's session on the fading Acharya, in conversations with some devotees, it seemed like there was some burning questions coming up for devotees. So if you'd like to ask them, Prabhu would be open to receiving them now.
we don't have to have questions, but you had enough going to Jamuna Jivan Prabhu saying, oh, we wish we had more questions. So we were just trying to please the crowd.
Hare Krishna, Gopal Bhatta Prabhu. I'm very honored and great fortune to have you here. I think maybe I have an answer to the question you raised yesterday, and then I also have a question to you. I remember yesterday you asked about what does it mean by being loyal to ISKCON, and I think maybe I could talk about 3 points. 2 are from traditional classical Chinese text on what does loyalty mean, and then another point from Kuladri Prabhu. And one of the texts that is about written in the 6th century China is a poem for elementary education, for young children start their school, and it talks about like natural phenomena, etiquette, and history in a very elementary level. And in that poem, there's a phrase saying, loyalty means giving your life. And this is one explanation. And the other explanation, also from another traditional Chinese text, is it's maybe like 3,000 years ago. It's a text on how to rule, how to be a king, and how to build an arta, and how to be stable and strong, win over your enemy. And in that text, there's a discussion on how to make your country prosper. And the answer is like a lot of points, but one of the points is the king need to select proper employment, and he need to seek people with 6 characters, and one of the characters is loyalty. And in that context, the definition of loyalty is someone who can stay when having a task that is entrusted to him, he can remain unchanged and do not turn away from that commitment entrusted to him. That is loyalty. And another one, I think what I heard from Kuladri Prabhu, who gave a very extraordinary lecture on Friday evening. He talks about, towards the end of the lecture, he talks about that his personal contemplation is always seek the advanced senior devotees who are dedicated to Srila Prabhupada, and seek to render some and try to assist him. And that, I think that is also a loyalty to ISKCON. And that is my answer to your question. And then my question to you is, I think in one sense, the fading of Acharya is inevitable, in the sense that if we just look at the long list of names of kings in Srimad Bhagavatam, all those personalities in the history, I believe they must be very prominent and extraordinary personalities. But now you can see just a name. And when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, sometimes we even skip the name. And so on that note, I remember the title page of your presentation is Fading Acharya, followed by a question mark. And so what does that question mark signify?
What is your name? What is your name?
Nandimukhi Devidasi.
Hare Krishna. Well, but first of all, the first part of your comments, not the question, is a very good example for all of us, and the hope that the presentation that I made yesterday, that we would all do what she did, which is give thought to it. Okay? So let's, use that as an example. Let's give thought to this notion of, okay, what does it mean to be loyal to ISKCON or loyal to Srila Prabhupada? So thank you for that. The question mark is because we're primarily asking questions to encourage people to think. And it's not an absolute given that Srila Prabhupada is going to fade. We have statements even from himself that his books will be the law books for 10,000 years. So, and we see the gifts that he gave us are so rock solid compared to most any other religious organization that has grown up, what to speak of all the religious organizations that have failed. So we actually have gifts that give us the greater potential to not have him in a faded position, but rather for ISKCON to, and for all of us in our association to grow and grow generation after generation. So there's the question mark basically is, what are we going to do to make sure that the position that Srila Prabhupada has stays alive? So that's why the question mark. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a couple of reflections, Prabhu. One, I have often heard of Prabhupada being glorified for waking up and in the middle of the night, sacrificing for our benefit, writing these books. But I was not aware of the comparative that you presented yesterday, that Jesus actually did not do that and other religions don't have this. And therefore, all the more significant that sacrifice that Prabhupada made every single day in those most precious morning hours for us to leave his association behind, that really stood out for me. So thank you. So the second question it was a question that was coming to my mind yesterday, which is that it is said that the first 10,000 years of Kali Yuga are the golden age. And I was thinking, when you were presenting first, second, by the fourth generation, it's already like just issues. There's like no instruction, no context, no intention remaining. I was thinking that, so that means, I don't know how that prediction is going to come true. But you just clarified it. It's up to us now to bring that to life. So to actually manifest that prediction, it is in our hands. It's not that, you were painting a bleak picture that that's not going to happen. It's actually resting upon our shoulders to manifest that prediction by how we are committed to Srila Prabhupada's mission.
Yes, we have to accept the burden of the success of ISKCON to whatever extent we're able and inspired to do so. We have to accept that burden. Therefore, yesterday I also mentioned sacrifice. Sacrifice may be different for different people. To begin with, depending on what mode of material nature they're in, sacrifice is different. And the amount of sacrifice can be different, again, depending on the lifestyle that a person has. But we have to say to ourselves, I have to accept some level of responsibility for ISKCON. Now, that means also, okay, what are the fundamental missions of ISKCON? They, come from Srila Prabhupada's directives. Srila Prabhupada's directives have become, if you look at Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and going all the way then back to the six Goswamis and then to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what we see is, well, we have to become Krishna conscious and we have to spread Krishna consciousness. So the acceptance of just the burden of spreading Krishna consciousness, that is a major contribution to ISKCON. And it is in line with Srila Prabhupada's directives and then going all the way back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But we have to say to ourselves, what can I do to help ISKCON, to help the preaching movement, help the the devotees by making friendships, etc., all of these things. And of course, our breakout sessions are directed to start touching some of that stuff. I said in the very beginning that I'm really here to just pose some questions. I don't have a whole lot of answers. My presentation yesterday, whatever I'm going to talk about today, is not complete, so to speak. It's enough to get, you could use these short discussions that we're having as a insertion point in your life. Okay? What we all should be doing is occasionally finding an insertion point where life is the way life works is, if we're not really that conscious, or we're just kind of, what I'm doing today is what I did yesterday, what I'm doing tomorrow is what I did today. Now, of course, some things that we're doing are like really great. I chanted 16 rounds today. I chanted them yesterday. I'm going to chant them tomorrow. But then we look at, okay, what's the quality of that? Is there any way that tomorrow I can chant at a higher level of quality than I did today, even if it's just a little bit? So use this period of time to make some self-made insertion points into your life. Figure out how you can accept more responsibility for the mission of ISKCON. Figure out how you can see to it that, at least in your life and the lives that you affect, Srila Prabhupada is not a fading acharya. Okay. Okay, one last question.
My question was around the diagram that you showed with first, second, third, fourth generation. And the question is, between the third and fourth generation, your image showed loss of instructions in the fourth generation, that there's just issues. Could you elaborate on why the instructions piece gets lost between third and fourth generation?
Of course, the overall presentation was about spiritual organizations that failed within 4 generations, or approximately 100 years. And the biggest reason when we look at spiritual organizations in general is that the founder of those organizations did not leave significant instructions to begin with, okay? And when we see the morphing of philosophy, for instance, in Christianity, which, of course, scholars could argue that it didn't happen, and other scholars say that it did. But, from my belief point of view and my study point of view, it's real clear that they came up with philosophical ideas that Jesus Christ never talked about, never intended it to be, etc., etc. But there were no written instructions on anything. What we have with ISKCON, which gives us the greatest opportunity to see to it that the acharya is not fading, is that we have these instructions. Now, also, because we knew that we were going to be doing this fading acharya presentation, We did our survey with the devotional community here. And as I mentioned yesterday, when we look at those participants, which could, it's probably a representative sample because there were enough people responding, we're not reading enough. We're just not reading enough. We need to read more. We need to be more disciplined in our reading of Srila Prabhupada's books. And that will cure that issue of instructions fading away. I just read this morning, written by one devotee to the Indian Bureau. Page after page after page, documentation about how the Western devotees got it all wrong as it relates to women. And this was fundamentally a Varna ashram picture that was being presented to the Indian Bureau. And of course, Varna ashram is part of the Bhagavad Gita. It's part of the Lord's structure for humanity. So it's quite real. Some of us are Brahmins. Look at your spiritual master. He's a Brahmin all the way, right? Some of us are Kshatriyas, some of us are Vaishyas, some of us are Sudras. Some of us aren't really even qualified to be within the Varnashram system, such as my fallen self. And, okay, that's great. And then we see other things in Srila Prabhupada's books that basically, including Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, that basically he was not satisfied to be hearing that Varnashram had any significant importance. And he kept pushing Ramananda Roy, right? Maharaj, yeah. He kept pushing Ramananda Roy, I want more. I'm not satisfied. You have another group of people right now that are trying to basically say, well, our guru shouldn't be initiating women. Or if they're going to initiate them, well, okay, fine, but it should be the husband that is giving the Gayatri mantra to them. So these are the kinds of conflicts that, this is big long letter that went to the, look at Maharaj, she's like shocked. He's not really shocked because he's seen this kind of stuff. It's this kind of stuff that means that we're not reading enough. And we're not associating enough to understand what we're reading, okay? And when we talk about association, by the way, we're talking about, okay, you have an individual duty to find somebody who is more advanced than you and do what you can to spend time with that person. One of the beautiful things about my life is that one of the not so nice things is that I don't have a certain amount of association. I'm a little bit of a recluse. But the beautiful thing about my life is that the people that I spend significant periods of time talking to, they're all very much advanced than me. And that's what we should all be doing also. Now, also connecting with people of the same stature in devotional service is also very valuable. And connecting with people who aren't quite as advanced as us, that's very valuable for us also. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that those that, spend time with, paraphrasing of course, with the devotees are most dear to him. So we have, in that business of friendships, those who are more advanced, those who are equal, those who are less advanced. We wish to spend time with all of them. But we must find people who are more advanced than us. So, okay. Is that enough on questions? Okay, good. Thank you. So today, of course, we have our breakout sessions that Jamuna Jivan Prabhu is going to be administrating. And these are, for the most part, in stratas of what does it mean to be a follower of Srila Prabhupada. And so we have in the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami is speaking of the 64 activities of a devotee, and then he moves it into another chunk and then another chunk. And the last chunk has got the big five, okay? And that is Shrinam, whether it be japa or kirtan, Srimad Bhagavatam, reading, association with devotees, of which I just gave a quick review, deity worship, and living in the Holy Land. And if you cannot live in the Holy Land, then at least be conscious of the Holy Land. Okay? We have to set up our life so that these big five are very prominent in our life. So when we look at our japa, let's start with our japa. I'll tell you one of the more beautiful things of my little life. I was, I joined the movement. I was distributing books. I then became a Sankirtan leader, and then for a while, I was the temple president of Los Angeles. At that time, there were 650 full-time devotees living in the ashram. Even today, even in India, there are no temples that have that many devotees living in the ashram. And from the day that I accepted that responsibility for about a period of 2 months, I struggled intensely to keep up with my japa on quality. And I also struggled sometimes on even just getting the 16, because the duties and responsibilities that I had accepted were so huge. Sankirtan we were the leading Sankirtan organization in the movement. We had so many projects going on, et cetera, et cetera. So I found myself day after day, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., I still have 6 rounds, 7 rounds to do, Hare Krishna. And then I just made a decision about 2 months after taking that position. And fortunately, it was a decision that ended up lasting my whole life. And that is, when the bell rings at 4:30 and the deity doors open, Gopal Bhatta, fallen poor soul, has all 16 rounds done. Done. And then during the day, if I had an opportunity to chant some more, that's good. At a certain point, I moved into business. As we spoke yesterday, many of the members of our community are going to work every day. I go to work too. As pathetic as it sounds, at my age, I'm still working. At least 6 out of 7 days, my rounds are done before I do anything else. So, japa is like very, very important. I also found out, and maybe you have found out too, that when you're living at home with your family, you're not living in a temple. Of course, living in the temple was easy. Everybody got up. Everybody was there at a Mangala Arati. Okay. Everybody had a class, everybody had a job, a period of chanting. And we didn't have any work, so to speak, in terms of going out and trying to find a paycheck. Our work was to spread Krishna consciousness. So it was conducive to very strong sadhana. But now when we are doing work, we have family, everything like that, there's those challenges that make sadhana more difficult. So you got to manage your time. You have to manage time, so to speak. Now, Krishna says that he's time, so how are you going to manage him? Well, our philosophy includes the potential of more or less falling in love with Krishna in such a way that he becomes indebted to us, so we can be very conscious of time. Being conscious of time is being actually conscious of Krishna. And the same thing with reading. You don't have time. Okay, fine. When are we going to find the time? And, okay, the only association I get is when I come to the temple on Sunday? Is that it? How often and what is the quality and characteristics of the association that I have? Of course, many devotees have deities at home. And so therefore some deity worship is there. And deity worship is, again, one of the big five. Being very conscious of Vrindavan and Mayapur, that is part of our practice. Okay? You can incorporate many little things. Have a pot of dust by your computer and put a little bit of dust on your head every day. Have some pictures of Vrindavan and Mayapur. I noticed that we had a picture of Mayapur up here. And that just automatically causes you to think of Mayapur, and then causes you to think of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Panchatattva and etc., right? So those are coming like a quick smattering of things. We started our discussion where I just read, after bathing in the river, Sri Chaitanya Maharaj went and saw the temple of Ranganath and offered his ardent prayers, obeisances, and then he felt successful. So I have one other thing that I'd like to read to you as an overview of, okay, what does it mean to be a member of ISKCON? What does it mean to be loyal to Srila Prabhupada? It's one of my favorite parts of the Nectar of Devotion. How do I bring that up? Click, huh? This is a little bit long. I'd like everybody to listen carefully. But here's just a small little thing. What does it mean to listen? One of the things that you could do in terms of listening is that when you're listening, you suspend thought. You more or less stop thinking, and all you're doing is now just listening to what you're hearing. Because actually, if somebody is speaking something, and in this case it would be Srila Prabhupada, because I'm going to be reading what Srila Prabhupada wrote, but now you're thinking. Your thinking is actually blocking. And of course, this is how japa is too. Okay? So suspend thought and listen carefully. One should feelingly pray and become eager to render his particular type of service to the Lord. This is the teaching of all great devotees, especially Lord Chaitanya. In other words, one should learn how to cry for the Lord. One should learn this small technique, and he should be very eager and actually cry to become engaged in some particular type of service. This is called lolya. And such tears are the price for the highest perfection. If one develops this lolya, or excessive eagerness for meeting and serving the Lord in a particular way, that is the price to enter into the kingdom of God. Otherwise, there is no material calculation for the value of the ticket by which one can enter the kingdom of God. The only price for such entrance is this lolya lalasa mayi, or desire and great eagerness. So, as we go through the rest of our time, I'd like you to be thinking. Because what Prabhupada is saying here is that developing eagerness is a practice. It's not that you just chant and wait for eagerness, although, yes, we chant and we wait for the mercy of the Lord. But it is also part of the practice of devotional service. So I'd like that to be one of the overarching themes of what we're talking about. So, okay, I did a little bit of a review. How do I get this off the screen? Just click. Okay. Let's just have a quick raise of hands. How many devotees in here actually have a full-time employment job? And it seemed, as I quickly glanced around, that there might be a few of the ladies that didn't raise their hand, meaning maybe they're housewives. Huh? Part-time. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, exactly. So yesterday I made mention of, I know what it means to be an employer because I employ people, and, in a capitalistic, rather kind of harsh way. They're either doing a good job, they keep their work, they're not doing so good, and you give them some remedial, or you lose hope and you fire them. So everybody's got somebody to please unless you're running your whole business. If you own your business, what you find is that you still don't find independence. Independence is a myth. Because now, all of a sudden, you just have to serve everybody in front of you, even though you own your own business, and therefore you're still a slave, okay? So, big chunk of time. Another big chunk of time is sleep. Another big chunk is just you have to take time to eat and take care of your bodily needs. And this is before you do anything else. And now you have some of the typical things. You got to put gas in your car, and you got to do stuff like that. The clock is ticking, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. It's never stopping. You ever sit back and just watch the second hand move? I do from time to time. It just keeps moving. So we have to manage time, so to speak. We have to manage our effort. And if we don't, we're going to find those critical things about our devotional life getting compromised. And they can't be compromised. You have Rupa Goswami came up with the perfect, more perfect, and most perfect, okay? So, you know, we have important, has to be done. I have to take care of my children. I have to earn a living to have enough money to take care of them. I have to take care of my wife. Or if I'm a wife, I have to take care of my husband and my children. And I've got to chant. And I've got to set up my life so that I can chant in the most serious way. And I've got to read. And I have to spend time with devotees. And I have to worship whatever deity I'm worshiping. And I have to spend time thinking of Vrindavan and Mayapur. I got to do these things too. So we've got to manage time. So we're going to spend a little time. Raise a hand. How many people, devotees here, actually have a written strategic plan for your life? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, I think. So, Hare Krishna, congratulations. I have one, so I'm going to raise my hand, okay? So part of this time management, as I'm going to go through this little PowerPoint that I created for the GBC College for Leadership and Management Development, that's a PowerPoint for that class, which isn't exactly me giving a class today, but much of it is there. But it also implies that I'm going to have a plan. Anybody want to take a guess as to what I'm thinking? What book is one of the greatest books on planning? Anybody have an idea what that would be? Yes? I can't hear you. Okay, I'll accept that. But I'd rather you say Srimad Bhagavatam and then followed by Nectar of Devotion. Because these books are real serious plans. Bhagavad Gita also has a plan. Hey, I've got a problem, my dear Lord Krishna. I don't want to fight. Oh, well, you got to fight, and okay, fine. So now we get to the end, and the Lord says, okay, you've heard everything. Do what you wish to do. Whereas the Srimad Bhagavatam, you start from the beginning, and step by step by step by step by step, you eventually get to the point where we now understand, and we're hearing about the activities of the residents of Vrindavan and how they are interacting with the Supreme Lord. And with the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, with the Nectar of Devotion, we're starting off with the most basic thing. Having faith, feeling that the Lord is protecting us, moving on to the elements of Vaidhi Bhakti, moving on to the spontaneous devotion, and then Rupa Goswami starts to spend a little bit less time on Bhava and spends even less time on Prema. But we get this, hey, because what is a strategic plan? I have a plan this afternoon. I'm going to leave here at a certain particular point in time, and I have a destination, and that is the airport. But even beyond that airport, the destination is that I'll end up in Los Angeles, God willing, by 9:30 p.m. LA time. I got a plan. These books are fundamentally strategic plans. We have to have our own individual strategic plan, which is goal-driven. Prabhupada Maharaj has given several, maybe 2 or 3, on the Madhurya Kandamati. How many people have taken the time to listen to that? Okay, so not enough, by far. Because that's another book written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who many people feel is an incarnation of Rupa Goswami to more elaborate some of the work that was done in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And we see all these stages. Now, of course, the way those stages work is that they're not just perfectly linear, okay? Because you can, even down at the Vaidhi level, feel some taste. But taste, ruchi, is very high up there, okay? Really, to be fully absorbed in taste is like, wow. But we have this overarching goal. Sometimes when we talk about goals, we talk about reach goals. Reach goals are defined as, I don't think I could ever get there, but hey, let's put it out as a goal, and then let's back up off that goal and create something that is realistic that I can obtain. And the overarching goal is Krishna prema. That's what we're here for. Now, are we going to get there? I pray that all of you do, and I certainly pray also that I do someday. But I have goals in my spiritual life that are based on the progress of these primary strategic planning books of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, even Chaitanya Charitamrita, although that's not as what you would call strategic, but it is. And I have a goal in mind for my life, okay? And then once we start to get that overarching goal, and then the steps, and then what's my next step down that path, and now I'm going to bring that into today, tomorrow, this week, this month, this year. That's basically what you would call strategic. Let's go through some of, what am I? Oh boy, I'm going too long. Yeah, time management. I'm not managing my time properly. So, okay, Srila Prabhupada on the importance of time. I'm going to read this a little quick. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Prahlad. Can this screen be a little brighter? Where do I get the bright? Yeah? Okay. Among subduers, I am time. Among the beasts, I am the lion. Among the birds, I am Garuda, the feathered carrier of Vishnu. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe, and so represents Krishna. The personality of Godhead said, as a mass of clouds does not know the powerful influence of the wind. A person engaged in material consciousness does not know the powerful strength of the time factor by which he is being carried. Srila Rupa Goswami states in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, a Vaishnava must be very alert not to waste even a second of his valuable time. This is a symptom of a Vaishnava. That's why I was saying sometimes it's good to just see little periods of time. I run my life actually in chunks of 15 minutes. I have one of those, I'm forgetting what they are, that sand thing, you know? What do you call them? Huh? Yeah. And it's designed to run out in 15 minutes. And often I do an awful lot of Zoom, so I'm sitting here with the Zoom and whatnot, and I have it over here so that nobody can see, and I turn it upside down if I'm going to see how much I can accomplish in 15 minutes. And then if I can't get it done in 15 minutes, I turn it upside down and start again. Don't waste a single moment. This should be your life's policy. Rupa Goswami advises an advanced devotee should always look whether my time is wasted. Useless. So that one should be the target of devotees, that whatever I am wasting my time, don't waste your time. Always pour in activities of the Lord Krishna, always 24 hours. Time is the basic element or measurement of the activity of our senses by which we calculate past, present, future. But in factual calculation, time has no beginning and no end. Chanakya Pandit says that even a slight fraction of time cannot be purchased with millions of dollars, and therefore even a moment of time lost without profit must be calculated as the greatest loss of life. Time is not subject to any form of psychology, nor to the moment's objective realities in themselves, but they are dependent on particular experiences. The great politician Pandit named Chanakya said that even one moment of time cannot be returned, even if one is prepared to pay millions of dollars. One cannot calculate the amount of loss there is in wasting valuable time. So this Krishna consciousness movement is only to remind people that please do not waste your time, valuable time, life, utilize it. This is the opportunity to make a solution to all the problems of life. So this is a little staying on track, okay? I already did this. Raise your hands if you have a strategic plan or not, okay? Purpose-driven, okay? So we already spoke about what's our ultimate purpose, to return to our eternal position of serving Krishna. Now, we have to bring that back to something that is more attainable in a shorter period of time. Why is this done? Okay, what would on purpose really mean? Okay. And a related distinction, purpose-driven. Our spiritual life should be purpose-driven. Okay? So, you have a vision, you know what a vision is, create a vision for yourself. You have a mission, you know what mission is, create a mission statement for yourself. It can change. These two can change over time, especially if you refresh them on a broad areas of effort. So the broadest areas of effort that I have is my spiritual life, my business, whatever service I'm doing for ISKCON, and my family. These are the broadest ones that I have. Okay. You could create more of a distinction if you wanted to. But basically look at what should be your fundamental areas of effort, and then write them down, and that becomes the big chunks of your strategic plan. From those broad areas, you have the key result areas, the areas that are really going to be making a difference in your life. So if you take your personal spiritual life, what's going to really make a difference? Well, improve my japa. Improve the quantity and quality of my reading. These are the key result areas of the broader, my personal spiritual life. Desired outcomes are subordinate to a key result area. Typically, desired outcomes or an objective is something that can be accomplished within a year or two. So within a year or two, I will finish reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's possible to have it in a year. It took me 18 months to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. back in part of 22 and 23, but I read it out loud. Just reading is one level of getting it into your brain. Just hearing it by a recording because you're driving down the street and you want to hear a recording, that's also great. But reading and hearing, okay. So now subordinate then to an overall outcome is goals. And goals are basically defined as SMART goals: specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and time-based. So, okay, my overall outcome, I'm going to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, every single page from beginning to end within the next year or something like that. Vyasa Prabhu has these interesting little calculators. You can go somewhere to find them, and then, you know, how much time on average is going to take to read a page, how many pages. I think he calls it page by page sage or something. Yeah, very helpful, right? Very good. You can get that. And then you can be setting goals. This month I'm going to read this many pages, etc. Okay. Some test questions. What would it be like if I were totally successful? What would success look like and feel like for each of the interested parties? So now we start getting into some of the grunt level time management. Okay. First of all, we really need to be very conscious of time. I'm probably going to go over a little bit. I already know that because I've been editorializing a little bit too much. But the first chunk of time that I'm going to create is, what time am I going to be doing my japa? That's number one. And I think if you think about this, if you haven't figured this out, especially as a householder, the biggest chunk of wasted time is usually the evening. This is where, you know, blah, blah happens. What happened today? What happened today? Okay, how did you do? Okay, oh, the little kids, bounce them on the knees. I'm not saying that's a waste of time. It's valuable. But, okay, am I going to turn on a TV? Am I going to get some entertainment? Whatever. Some of us may be doing that. The earlier you take rest, the earlier you get up. You have kids to raise. Okay, great. Figure out what their sleeping habits are. Get your rounds done before they regularly get up. You've got to get to work. Okay, fine. I got to be there at 8 o'clock, and that means I might have to leave at 7:30, and that means that. Okay, my rounds have to be done by 6 a.m., which means, okay, I'm going to get up at 3:30. Okay, fine. I'm going to start my chanting by 4. Okay, great. And that means that I'm going to take rest at 8:30 or something. What am I going to give up? Something. But I don't think it's going to be as important as having, and here's another thing about chanting. See if you can set up your life to chant all 16 rounds at one time. That is absolutely the best for progressive chanting and deepening. You chant 4 or 6 or 8 rounds, and then later you chant some more. And especially if you're chanting some more, the whole business of the day gets going in your mind, and now it's much harder. There are also many techniques of chanting, okay? Some people, including me, a single chair that I sit on every single day for my chanting. Why? Because it just tells my mind, I'm sitting on this chair. And that means, my dear mind, you're going to be a friend and you're not going to be an enemy. So You get the idea, okay? Collect your thoughts, responsibilities, write down. Try to write down everything. If you were to look on my computer right now and see all of the things that I have to do, you'd think that I'm a little crazy, okay? And guess what? I have not had to think once until this moment in time, to use as an example only, all the things that I have to do. Huge, big things. Big things, right? I haven't thought once of them. Why? They're all written down. They're all written down. And they are all linked to a strong strategic plan. And therefore, my mind is free to simply sit here and talk. I'm free to talk. Assess and remove impractical or irrelevant things. We waste a lot of time doing things. If you keep a master list of everything that you have to do, do you ever notice that you never finish everything? And the reason you don't finish everything is because there's a fair amount of stuff that we think that we should be doing, that we kind of should do, but we just never get around to it. And so what? We never get around to it. Okay, fine. What's your attention? A few examples of gathering tools. How many people here use Outlook? Raise your hand. Okay, not enough. The rest of you seriously consider start using it. It's a very, very powerful tool for organizing your life and keeping things on track. Because over here you have lists of things that you have to do, which is generated from your overall strategic plan. And your strategic plan is strong on all of your sadhana, all of taking care of your family, all of your taking care of your business, and now you're moving that stuff into lists, and then you're moving your lists into your calendar. And that level of organization provides you with the greatest opportunity to do what Srila Prabhupada was just saying, which is don't waste time. Don't waste time. So we're going to skip through the rest of this for purposes of saving time for one other thing that I wanted to share with you. And this would have value, possibly. This PowerPoint is designed primarily to present verbally, and so these are all talking points. But, send it to everybody, okay? And you'll get the idea on it. Study time management. There's a lot of different, I have my philosophy, and it's largely presented here. There are other ways that you can work on time. Hare Krishna on that. So we're getting close to the time when we're going to be doing our breakout sessions. A big part of our breakout sessions are on the big five, right? And we have those kind of like classified as like kind of primary or something, okay? As you know, a couple of times yesterday and a couple of times today, I'm sharing a few things that I have found very valuable. So I'm going to put you through a short PowerPoint right now. I'm going to read it to you. It's once again this thing, if you have the ability to just suspend thought and just take this in, it's advanced, but it is also showing us where we're going. And this happens to just be a letter from written to a disciple. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote this to a disciple. Okay, so how do we bring that up? Three, two, sometimes one, sometimes 4 or 5 times a week. I will read this before I start my japa. Okay. This is a letter from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He writes, I am overjoyed to hear that your enthusiasm for chanting is increasing. So we have enthusiasm. He starts with enthusiasm. Yes. Yeah, and so does he. He can send it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj. No distraction. Don't raise. Listen. Thank you, Maharaj. Enthusiasm. As our contaminations are removed by chanting, and this we start talking about goals, and yes, this reach goal of prema, but one of the goals that a person like me has is I got contaminations in my heart. I got to remove them. I have to be conscious of those contaminations. The Lord's form, qualities, and pastimes will be revealed to us in the holy name. The holy name and Krishna are the same. When we are chanting Krishna's name, we're with Krishna to some extent. And his form, qualities, and pastimes are in the name. There is no point of making a separate effort to artificially remember the Lord's quality, forms, and pastimes. The Lord and his name are one and the same. This will be understood clearly when the coverings in your heart are removed. By chanting without offenses, you will personally realize that all perfections come from the holy name. So, of course, we're talking about offenseless chanting. And we also know that all, not all, but many of the offenses are created by inattentive chanting, which Bhakti Vinod Thakur recognizes as what you might call the 11th offense. So, mind is very busy. I got so many things to do, but I got to go chant my rounds. Okay, fine. And then I get through 7 or 10 or sometimes even an entire round, and that's like, oh, whoa. Why did I spend so much time thinking about what I was going to be doing at the office today, or what kind of problems do I have with my wife, or whatever? One way, I'm just going to go a few minutes over. One way of looking at a thought is the same way that we look at this body-mind. There's a birth, a growth, a maturation, production of byproduct, a decline, and death. So now I see this thought, and it's coming. There's a birth of a thought. Now that thought starts to grow. This is happening very fast. Now that thought starts to mature, and now it's going to bring out another thought as a byproduct of the first thought, and that one will then decline and die while the next born thought continues, and thus the whole process goes. As a general statement, this group is highly intelligent, which means you have somewhere in the neighborhood of between 30 and 35,000 thoughts a day. Really. So think about killing that thought at birth. Be so conscious in your chanting that you see that thoughts will go back to chanting. Don't give it a chance to grow. Okay? Through chanting, the distinction that this is really interesting. I don't know if, I'm not sure if you've thought like this, but this is really cool. Through chanting, the distinction that exists between the self and the gross and subtle bodies is gradually effaced. The word effaced means erased. Gopal Bhatta Das, this cage that I'm in, this brain, this identity that I have a business, I have a wife, I have a family, I have a whatever I got going. I'm a devotee. I'm speaking to you. All of that. I am in the process of erasing all of that. Okay? Is gradually effaced and one realizes one's own spiritual form. Now, of course, we have prema, and then before prema, at a certain point, one starts to, so this is very advanced to get to the point where you start to realize one's spiritual form. But the purpose of reading this is to understand goals. And one of the goals is, in fact, to move out of the sadhana deha into the siddha deha. It's a far off goal. Okay, great. But it's one of the goals. Once aware of the spiritual body, as one continues to chant, one sees the transcendental nature of the form. Only the holy name reveals the spiritual form of the living being and then causes him to be attracted to Krishna's form. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to understand my spiritual form to some extent, and that is going to help me be attracted to Krishna's form. Only the holy name reveals the spiritual qualities of the living being and then causes me to be attracted to Krishna's qualities. And similarly, only the holy name reveals the spiritual activities of the living being and then causes him to be attracted to Krishna's pastimes. By service to the holy name, we do not mean only the chanting of the holy name, it also includes the other duties of the chanter. If we serve the holy name with the body, mind, and soul, then the direction of that service spontaneously manifests like the sun in the clear sky of the chanter's heart. And of course, today we don't have a clear sky, but tomorrow we will. And as I was telling Nityananda Pran Prabhu and his wonderful, lovely wife, every day of my youth, I lived in Ohio, and it's even more cloudy there than here. And every single day of my life, the Father would come, wake us up with the following statement. It's a beautiful day in northeastern Ohio. Wake up. Now, most of the time it was cloudy, rainy, snowy, whatever. Every single day was a beautiful day. What is the nature of the holy name? Eventually, all these understandings spontaneously appear in the heart of one who chants the holy name. So take that on faith. Eventually, these will appear. The true nature of Harinam is revealed to listening to, reading, and studying the scriptures. Chanting has three primary elements: the philosophy, the techniques, the mood. Okay. It is unnecessary to write anything further on this. All these things will be revealed to you. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you very much. If you want to cut into more time of yours, it's up to you, because we're already 3 minutes over. Yeah, you can do. Okay. He says we should do questions, and I'm his humble servant, so what questions do we have?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. This lecture was really great for me as a student and someone who struggles a lot with time management. I had a question on the fact that you need to use every single minute of your time wisely. Wouldn't that lead to burnout? Because if you're...
Could you just move the microphone a little bit further, because
Yeah.
I'm not quite hearing everything you said, and if you don't mind, repeat again.
Yeah, sure. If you use every single minute of your time, wouldn't that lead to a lot of burnout? Because if you continuously work, then could that...
Even the Bhagavad Gita says that you have to have some recreational time. I don't think that you should have as much recreation in your life as what I had, but, you know, I mean, this is really silly. I was once an expert skier. I was once an expert scuba diver. I was once a deep water sailing expert, multiple days, way out into the middle of the ocean. I've had recreation in my life. So there should be some, right? And there has to be some downtime. You got to have downtime. But the overall instruction is always think of Krishna and never forget him. So even if you're going to do something of a recreational, then let's not do recreation that just blots out the Supreme Lord. And by strengthening yourself spiritually, you'll have less burnout. Burnout really comes ultimately from material frustration, not from spiritual efforts. Okay, any other questions? Yeah.
Prabhu, one ask and one question. The ask is the fantastic idea you spoke about, the strategic planning. Can we create an outline of that and give it to me and maybe circulate it? Because ultimately it has to be iterative. We build something and keep working on that, but the basic framework is there. That would be great.
Have you studied strategic planning yourself?
I do for my business, but not for my life. It was for the life. So
okay, is there somebody here, including yourself, that knows enough about strategic planning? Yeah? So gather up 2 or 3 of your colleagues, put together a Zoom with me that Jamuna Jivan can organize, and you'll put it together for your community, but I'll give you some help and do some service to you for putting together a template.
Thank you.
And having a strategic planning template is a very, very good idea.
Sure.
So I'd like to help you on that to the extent that I'm able.
Thank you, Prabhu. One question in this plan that the biggest challenge comes the variables. So when you put the plan and then the plan goes, even in business when you do, the variables that come throughout the process at the time is something goes ups and downs. How have you been managing that? You have such a complex, you said, business and this. I'm sure you have ups and downs, but
for, the complexity of our business, it's not the biggest business in the world, but it's certainly not the smallest. So we use a program called Monday, which is a organizational, project-oriented software, very sophisticated. We have an enterprise level of it, and we keep track of every single initiative, who's doing what, when, Gantt charts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the average person doesn't need that, and even the average business doesn't need that. But as things get more complex, then you get more organized. Like that, they are either Microsoft Word or Excel or a combination of the two will do the trick. Yeah. Okay. Any last questions? Yes.
Prabhu, first of all, just wanted to express my appreciation for your talk. The way you explain things and with the conviction that you give them, they were somehow just very real, very, it seemed like we can apply this, we can do it. Actually following with Shyam Prabhu's question, what I also struggle with is desires. So the plan goes well if things are predictable, but there's times when we get certain desires like, okay, I just really want to get into this, and the whole schedule goes haywire. You know, you're up until maybe 10 o'clock or midnight working on something. Or things happen, you need to spend time with someone, talking, discussing. So, it's the intention is there, the desire is there, but it seems like the world isn't designed to support a structured life. So that how do we sustain it in this world?
Well, it's a similar kind of question that Arjuna asked Krishna, and that particular question was answered with, a detachment, okay, and basically you have to have enthusiasm for what is most important, okay. So at a certain point, you have to just say, hey, this meeting is ended. I've got to go. Or you start an effort that says, well, I've got about a half an hour. And, right now we're 10 minutes over. And I've been very conscious of the fact that we're like 10 minutes over. Right? So determination and detachment, you got to be determined. You don't let the world's circumstances control you. To a certain extent, especially if you're of a particular type of nature, you've got to be able to move matter. What is business but moving matter? So, determination, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, that we get the majority of our spiritual sadhana accomplished in the early hours of the morning, because everything else is going to come in and squeeze us. So, all right, we're good. Thank you. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Yeah, I'll stay for a while.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So under Gopal Prabhu's guidance and Maharaj's encouragement, we'll be spending the next hour and a half or so on this topic of Srila Prabhupada's mission, and he'll have breakout groups set up here in the temple room. What I'm going to go through right now is just some logistics around how we're going to run this. These breakout groups. It's cafe-style breakout groups. That's it. Yeah, I'll go through that, Maharaj. This is recommended by Gopal Bhatta Prabhu. I have never done cafe. I've never facilitated cafe-style breakout groups, but I imagine it's going to be fun. Maybe chaotic.
Create one little table where 5 or 6 people sit around. You got the little tablecloth, and it's like a little bit of a cafe, okay? But we'll be sitting on the floor. Small little group, everybody has a chance to talk. Good, 10 minutes, 15, whatever you're going to be offering. Move around, go to which one you want.
So if it is a little chaotic because the first time we're doing it, and even the facilitators who are going to be leading each of the small groups are doing this for the first time, so be a little patient with us as we try to go through this process. So the format that we're going to go through, as I'm showing it here, the first is the introduction. We'll have the cafe-style discussions. Each person here will be part of 4 discussion groups. So, and each discussion slot's about 10 to 15 minutes. 10 minutes for the discussion and then 2 minutes for the transition to the next group that you'll be part of. And at the end of our discussions, so after 50 minutes, 45 or so, 50 minutes of discussions, then we will have harvesting, where each of the facilitators who are already assigned for each of the groups will come and share the takeaways from that discussion. Every group is going to build on the previous group that came to that particular cafe table, or you could say station that we will have. So it's by the end of the 50 minutes, you would have had lots of input on that particular topic. Instead of sort of rehashing the discussion that happened in the previous groups. They have only 1 or 2 prompt questions that each group will have, and like I said, it's going to build up each time you go through it. And we'll sort of present some next steps at the end. So this is kind of the format. We'll have groups of 8. I would say like stations of 8. Let me call it stations of 8. Each of the stations are here. Right after I'm done, I'm going to request all the facilitators, please come pick up your cone and the group that you're facilitating. Go to the map that I'm going to show you in a second. And then each of the participants, you select whichever group you want to go and be part of. Now, what's going to be really important is that we are limiting to 8 people in any one small group. So if there's an overflow, you have to go to a different group. And then after the bell rings for the first session, you can then choose to go back to whichever group you want to. Make sense? People who need chairs, we'll have 8 mats around every one station. People who need chairs can carry them around. Like I said, people can select the group they like to participate in as long as there's space available. I would say 5 to 7, but given the numbers we have here, we'll need 8 mats around each station. And then the facilitators will appoint a note taker in the group to take notes. So all the facilitators have notebooks. So they will either take notes themselves or they'll ask someone to take notes. Those notes will get consolidated and that's what will be presented at the end. Here are our groups. So as Gopal Bhatta really focused on being a loyal member of ISKCON or loyal follower of Srila Prabhupada, which can or cannot be synonymous, as well as to really further the mission of Prabhupada, the primary items are the personal growth items, and that's what we have. Majority of the groups are that category. So we have 10 groups under personal growth, which is Japa, improving techniques. Who is the facilitator? Rohan is the facilitator. Japa, improving mood, is Anantashesh. Reading and studying discipline is Gaurachandra Prabhu. Reading and studying techniques is Harish. And then principles of association, exchanging spiritual realizations, that's Sundarananda Prabhu. And then exchanging gifts and prasadam is Gopal Hari Prabhu. Then maintaining respect consistently, Sri Radhika. Where is she? Okay. And then strengthening family ties spiritually, Kriti Lakshana Prabhu. Living and remembering Vrindavan and Mayapur, Shatarupa. Deity worship will be facilitated by Chintamani. Where is she? Okay, then we'll have the secondary growth, secondary personal growth, which is part of what we just discussed now around time management. So time management will be facilitated by Amrita Keli, the expert. Joking. Second is practice of prayer by Vrindarani Mataji. Okay. Dealing with urges, like examples are given there, will be facilitated by Yashodanandan Prabhu. Recreation in a devotee's life. We talked about recreation, thanks to Radha. That will be facilitated by Sudhir Krishna Prabhu. Serving the mission, this is more actual active engagement in the mission, which is Science and Krishna Consciousness by Paramarupa Prabhu. Western preaching by Atulya Mataji. Book distribution by Govinda Mohini at the back. And then finally prasadam distribution by Ganga Narayan Prabhu. And this is the map of where we're going to be sitting in the temple room. Here's the altar, obviously. The doors on the bottom. And let me see if there's one more slide. Okay. This is it. I'm going to leave this slide on. And I ask that the facilitators take their little sign, go to the specific location in the temple room, set up 8 mats around you, only 8, not more. And we'll once you get settled, then we'll get started. I'll ring the bell and we'll go, okay? So we got about 2 minutes to get into our positions. Hare Krishna. Please find your groups. I think the facilitators need to settle down quickly. There you go. Yeah, use it. Maximum of 8 people per group. And if there's overflow, if there are too many people, you'll want to move to some other group for discussion. Oh. Yes, they will. If you can, if you're not in the group that you want, you can come back to that group because we'll have 4 chances. Where's Sri Radhika? Can you move forward? So, Mataji, can you move forward so I have some space to move? Radhika, ask her. Prabhu, is that it? Which one is yours?
Strengthening family.
+8. +8. You got it? Okay, go. Do we have any groups that have an overflow of devotees? More than 8? How many people here? Four? Good. So we have 8? Okay, maximum. Okay. Yeah, I'll publish it. Good idea. Thank you. Good idea. Okay.
From Ganesh.
You build on the previous problem.
Can you have it from the rest?
Notebook and pen.
Yeah.
Mohan is there. Too many people there. Yeah, we only allow 8 people per group. So if there's more, you can come back to it at another time. So you can go to a different group if you don't mind. What's that? Oh. Quick interruption to the facilitators. We have a timer on screen so you can manage your time accordingly. Facilitators, you have 1 minute left. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Everyone stay seated, stay seated. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Can everyone be silent for a second? Can we pause for a second? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. There's something called speed dating, and this is like speed breakouts. Anyway, before we move to the next group, two things. One is the facilitators. I noticed that some facilitators were super engaged in the conversation while trying to take notes. That doesn't work so well, so you may want to appoint someone else to take notes for you so that it's more effective. Secondly, there's a nice crowding over here, maybe because to offer sufficient space to Maharaj and Prabhu, but you may want to move the power of prayer or prayer, practice of prayer. You may want to move a little bit to this side so there's sufficient space between book distribution and exchanging of gifts and prasadam. Yeah, more towards the left, my left. Yeah. Thank you. Now go ahead, take a minute to pick the next group you want to be part of. Hare Krishna. The group locations on the slide. Please pick the next group you'd like to be part of. 4. You will get to pick up to 4 groups total today. So you finished 1, 3 more are left. Is back there. Who's leading? I don't know. Oh, Gaurachandra. Hare Krishna. Please pick your groups. Again, no more than 8 in each group. No more than 8 in each group. Okay, if everyone's settled, we will start the timer. The timer started. Hare Krishna. Facilitators, we have 45 seconds left. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Wait, please don't move yet, don't move yet. Hare Krishna, can you move to your next tables, please, or stations? Go ahead. Move to your next stations. Hare Krishna. Please move to your next stations. Haribo. Carry your chair with you, yeah. Facilitators, if you can raise the name of your group, that'll be helpful. The 10-minute timer is started for your group number 3. This is part 3. There's one more session after this one, okay? Facilitators, you have 1 minute left. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So now the final round of this speed breakout, cafe style breakout. Final round. Can I request everyone to please rise from the group that you're part of and join a new group? Hare Krishna. Please join a new group. Please join a new group. Please join a new group. This is the final round before we harvest from everyone. This is the last discussion round. Please choose your groups. Please choose your groups. Okay, I'm going to start the timer. Timer is started. Last 10 minutes. Facilitators, you have about a minute left. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Can we request all the devotees to come towards the forward here? Come forward, please. Please return to the participant area. Let's come back to the participant area. Hare Krishna. Done. All right, so now we're going to invite each of the facilitators to present the findings and takeaways from their group discussions. You want to start? Can you start? Hare Krishna, if everyone can sit down, that'd be really nice. Please, everyone sit down. Yeah. You know, I'm not sure. Okay, so we'll do little kirtan now. Hare Krishna, we're going to do 3 minutes of kirtan, and then we will talk about the takeaways and debriefs. So in the meantime, facilitators have time to. Can I find, where's Radha? Is Radha here? Radha, are you here? No? Can you do a little kirtan, Prabhu? Can you do a little kirtan? Kirtan? Yeah. Just do it.
Namo Vishnu Padaja Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Sunyabhadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yeah, more. Keep. Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
So, as part of next steps, if any of the facilitators or anyone who participated in any group would like to continue the conversation on that particular topic for 6 to 9 months or even more than that, because it's something you feel inspired by, you want to facilitate that devotees collectively move forward with that particular initiative in Srila Prabhupada's movement, please come in touch with me and we'll talk about how we will, with Gopal Bhatta Prabhu's guidance, create relationship building, action planning groups that will continue that initiative forward past today's event that we've done for the last hour and a half. Okay? So that's as far as next steps. Like I said, if anyone's interested to take any of these initiatives forward, please get in touch with me. So now we're going to debrief. Those who are facilitators will now share the findings of, or the takeaways from the 4 groups that discussed with each one of them. We will start with Science and Krishna Consciousness, top left. You need more time? Western preaching, his wife. Behind every successful man. Can you come please? By the way, everyone has, every facilitator, each group has 1 minute and 20 seconds. I'll make it 22. I want to respect the time that we have. You know, if we had more time, we would give a little more depth, but we don't have it. We have 18 groups, so if you do the math, that's 30 minutes.
This is really speed sharing and speed, everything in speed. Okay, so I have to get going. First of all, we renamed our group from Western Preaching to Western Sharing. So we renamed that, and I'll tell very quickly about. First of all, we discussed the definition of what who Western people are. There are outwardly visible things that people who are from non-Indian bodied, but then there are also internals that people who do not associate with or identify with, even they're from India, they don't identify with their cultural background for one or the other reasons. And, or plain and simple, those who are in the West are Westerners. Either way, so that was the definition. And the second was sharing, when we meet and encounter, the first encounter, what is it that we need to be very careful about? How do we create that connection with them? So a lot of things came up here, and one important thing is relatability. Are we able to relate to their life? They have their own lifestyle. Are we able to relate to that lifestyle or make a common connection with them? Our timeliness, if we have a program, are we starting on time, ending on time, which is very, very important for well, there's a cultural thing to say Indian Standard Time. Being friendly, giving them warmth, giving them space and pace, their own pace at which they want to interact with us, not bringing Krishna Prema and give them in 1 minute. Being inclusive, very sensitive, and very knowing whether they are ready to come to the temple or not, to get sometimes a cultural shock. Our own behavior and our own Krishna consciousness. And okay, I'll end. I have just one more point, but I'll skip it. Okay, just probably 10 more seconds. So what do they get out from interacting with us? Whether their needs are met, plain and simple, prasadam, or their intellectual need to get books from us. And even further, like, are we able to help them connect with their own self beyond their 9 to 5? Are we able to, make them present with themselves and generate interest? Generate interest and fun. Kirtan is part of that.
Thank you. Professor still writing? Are you ready? No. Okay. Okay. Deity worship. You ready? Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay. I'm going to start before he times. Okay, so the unanimous opinion that came from the groups on deity worship is that it is personal service, and it is that personal service that we so ardently, fervently pray for every day, 16 rounds, 108 times. So, therefore deity worship, because it allows us that direct association. Krishna, the Lord, as we know, is spiritual. We have no ability to see him, feel him, but he appears before us in the Archa Vigraha form, so that we are able to associate, provide, and he gives us that direct association. Now, yes, okay, we'll move on. Some of the qualities that we talked about, which helps, deity worship helps develop. Material attachment decreases. For example, by touching the deities with the right mindset, we know that lusty desires are removed from the heart. It increases faith on the Lord and his form. And of course, we know all the qualities: enhances cleanliness, punctuality, focus to detail. Meditating on the Lord, is just a practical way of what we want to do all the time, and our minds don't allow for it. But deity worship does give us that opportunity. I had a question around, or a prompt rather, is my time up? Okay. Can I give just one last 10 seconds? How can deity worship contribute to maintaining prominence of Srila Prabhupada in the future? And fortunately, I had Premananda Mataji join us for just one, quick round. And she was so emphatic about the fact that deity worship is core to the lives of the devotees and the sampradayas. For example, the Ramanuja Society, the Govindaji Vrindavan, all centering around deity worship. And if we execute per the teachings that have been given to us by Srila Prabhupada, there's no way. And the other thing is we perform everything on behalf of Prabhupada. So it's not only connection with Prabhupada, but also the parampara. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. I realize it's like a tall order to try to squeeze everything in. But the point that you brought about timeliness for Western preaching is such an important point that we don't usually get. And what I'm going to suggest is, moving forward, top 3 things that you heard. Okay? So we'll go with that. We'll improvise. So top 3 things, Prabhu, from your session.
I have only 3 things. Well, I was facilitating the group of the mood of chanting japa, and the overall, my understanding is everybody who came focused more on the techniques. So I think there is would people who came to that group, would you all agree? Okay, so there was more focus on the techniques and a lesser understanding of what's the difference between techniques of chanting and the mood of chanting. But I do, so I guess the people can at least take this breakout session as a starting point to start contemplating on what is mood of chanting and how it is beneficial while chanting. There's one point that I want to emphasize from a devotee, which is we were mostly talking about how to get into the right mood of chanting before chanting, but this wonderful devotee made a point. We'll flip it around. When I'm actually not in a good mood, I chant to elevate my mood. And I think personally for me, instead of going for ice cream, next time I'm going to go for chanting. Hare Krishna.
The World Acharya Harvest Debrief. Okay. You want to go next? Yes? Living in remembering Mayapur.
Started the timer. Hare Krishna. So the topic was mentally residing in Dham or remembering the Dham. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So why to even remember? We're happy here. But the main thing is, this is our prayojana. We keep hearing about Ragatmika, Raganuga, all this happened in the Dham. So connecting with the Dham reminds us our sadhana has a goal. And then also Prabhupada said, Vrindavan is my home. So we are connecting to Prabhupada in his land, Vrindavan, Mayapur. So that's his mood. He brought Dham outside the Dham for us. So we want to go there and bring the Dham in our heart. So therefore we remember and consciously invest in remembering. What does it bring to us personally? There was very interesting comments. One is it brings consciousness shift that we all kind of experienced. And then it brings gratitude to Prabhupada because now dhams are super commercialized and we are happy here taking darshan versus 1 minute darshans over there. So that, and then seeing the simplicity there brings some level of simplicity at heart. And then how does it contribute to our movement? Is purity of consciousness pervades, and so preaching becomes effective, and we also attract others to connect to Srila Prabhupada, who's only, he's a revealer of the Dham, so brings us to Prabhupada again. Okay. Hare Krishna.
I really like that point that Prabhupada, it's Prabhupada's home, so when you want to go visit Prabhupada, you go to Vrindavan, like you visit a friend at their home. Beautiful. So next, yes, no? Ready? Okay. Top 3 points that you'd like to share with the group.
So we were discussing about science and Krishna consciousness. The question that I posed was, how can you present Krishna consciousness convincingly to a scientific audience? That was the main question we were exploring. We had a very good discussion, and thanks to Satya, who was taking beautiful notes, because of which I'm presenting. So there were 3 things that I would like to highlight here. So first is that there is a need for bringing all the different scientific evidences in a more systematic fashion. And if it is done by those who are scientists, that would be the way to go. So create a repository. Second is, what I really liked from Suval Prabhu is, it doesn't matter what kind of arguments we may present, ultimately our qualities speak. So it's the character that matters. And that's why Srila Prabhupada was able to use rascals to the scientists, and they were very happily receiving, whatever he has to say. And there is a lot of beauty, a lot of logical thinking, a lot of experiential understanding. All of these things can be presented in a systematic fashion. and there's a lot of ideas that we collected. Maybe we can actually produce some document out of it to summarize. Okay, that's all.
Would you like to get a full summary of everything that was spoken in every group so that you can meditate on it? So facilitators, would you be? Okay. Nandu, you want to go next? This is Japa mood. Oh, techniques.
Okay, sorry, I'm not the facilitator. Rowan was the facilitator, but he had to leave. So we asked, our main questions was, what do you guys already do that's good for your chanting, and what do you not do that's good, that's bad for your chanting? So for the main two things that I heard and I thought were the most important was reading or setting an intention before you start chanting. So then during the whole time, you're more focused and you know why you're doing it. And then the other big thing that everyone kept bringing up was trying to do it in the morning, because if you do chanting like throughout the day, then you just won't get it done. You'll be thinking about everything you're doing throughout the day. And then the night you just want to sleep. So yeah, just get it done in the morning. That was like the main thing we had. And then the biggest distraction, you all would be lying if you said you didn't get distracted by this. I don't even have to say it. You already know what I'm thinking of. It's the phone. So just keep the phone away. Just don't use it. It's not worth it. And so similar to what Shaturmachi was saying about the movement, we said that the chanting builds purity. And Lakshmikant Prabhu he said something really nice. He said the society's success is on each individual, on every individual. So each one of us has to raise our own purity. And the way we do that is by chanting. That's our foundation, what Prabhupada gave us. So yeah, just do that.
Akhanda Nam needs 3 people for pots. Not to carry or washing or cooking. Wash pots. You have to speak. So those who would like to help, please, three individuals. Thank you. That was very nice, Nandu. So hopefully we can try to do that. Morning, without distraction, without the phone. So the next, let's see, Japa mood, reading, studying, discipline. Who would like to do, who was that? Reading and studying discipline? Gauchandru?
Yeah, so this was reading Srila Prabhupada's books and staying disciplined. 3 things came out. One was reading is the role of reading in our lives, and it helps in remaining grounded in devotional service, stay connected to Srila Prabhupada, and also something that came up often was books got me in, so I want to read. Challenges, often time management, many services, family situation, kids, job situation. And also, some people felt overwhelmed with a number of books. So most of the discussion was on what helped me. Association, which also brought in some sort of accountability. Also gratitude. Many people devotees expressed that just the fact that Srila Prabhupada gave so much helped them stay fixed in reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Especially for many devotees, it was reading Leela Amrita that helped them further read Srila Prabhupada's books. Teaching to others, helping others, and relationship with the spiritual master, even with Srila Prabhupada, helped maintain the discipline and stay consistent. And of course, reading in the morning. Setting aside a small amount of time, 2 minutes, for reading in the morning.
Yeah. That's, by the way, the first thing I do is I read in the morning, even before chanting. Gopal Bhatta. Gopal Hari Prabhu. Sorry, I'm used to saying the other name.
I have 4 points. Is that okay? and they're all top. What can you? We'll finish in time. So first question was, why does Srila Prabhupada emphasize not just giving, but also receiving? And many nice answers came. One was, because that's humility and gratitude. Vajaspati gave a very nice example of the doctor who cares for other patients, but also needs care for himself. And I think it was Dhananjay Prabhu, he said that Bali Maharaj accepts, Krishna even accepts from Bali Maharaj. So he accepts, he just doesn't give, he accepts from his devotees. That makes us also express gratitude that what they're giving is so nice. Second question was, what types of gifts can we give one another? And we said how Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that giving material gifts is also caring for a devotee spiritually, and giving gifts should be given according to the person, what they will be useful for them. So maybe don't give a sannyasi a golden ring. It doesn't work, right? What they want will be something else, like a special cloth of the deity or something like that, that is very valuable to them. Third question was, how does hospitality reflect our internal consciousness? Prabhupada talks about receiving guests in your home. And we said how it's so special because then the interaction with the devotee is very personal, where we can carefully, personally observe a devotee. Like Arjuna says, how do they walk, how do they talk? And they can also personally observe us and then instruct us accordingly. They can actually see how we're living, and they become part of our family. Like we have some rooms in our home that are named after devotees, like this is Devakinandan Prabhu room, or this is that room, you know, because that's where they stay. And the last one is, if one's not careful, in what ways can giving or receiving prasad or other things go wrong? And giving and receiving gifts. And the answers that came for that is it can become into a collective selfishness or groupism. Maharaj has been talking about the insiders and outsiders, where it's based upon culture, nationality, party culture. It can turn into like a criticism group. Because Prabhupada says if one is not careful, these exchanges may deteriorate into material dealings. So the remedy for that, we are saying, is let's also try to associate with people that we are not so comfortable with and make friendships with them.
Such a simple topic, exchanging prasadam and gifts, but so deep and nuanced. And you know, even to receive is so difficult sometimes. So thank you for sharing that. Recreation. I noticed a few groups that were the most popular ones. Recreation started to be really popular.
Hare Krishna, everyone. And I never knew recreation could be so intense. That was 40 minutes of real intense activity. Anyway, so we divided recreation into 4 subdivisions. Recreation in a healthy way. So devotees talked about recreation can be Krishna conscious, and they gave examples of japa walk, kirtan, meditation, yoga, gopi club activities, Vaishnavi Sangha. And of course, we talked about how Krishna says everything in his creation is nothing but a spark from his splendor, and appreciating nature. And the second part was we talked about children and how recreation or lack of recreation affects them. Lack of healthy recreation leads to more use of social media, and this was coming from children. Are children's interests being taken into account for recreation? Too much structured events sometimes does not feel like recreation. Serving children's interests in recreation is also serving Krishna. So that was Mataji's suggestion. Building relationships with other devotees. Recreation is sometimes not perceived as Krishna consciousness. Building synergy between devotees, it actually helps in heartfelt communications. And some devotees express that many times they feel that they're being preached to all the time instead of being, building a relationship. Okay, I think the last one. How does recreation help or not help one? How much is too much? It depends on one's personal needs is recreation relaxing or agitating? That was the consensus. So if it's agitating, it's probably not a good recreation to have. Srila Prabhupada, again, he took japa walks, he did bhajans in the evening. Recreation actually gives energy to come back rejuvenated and re-energized. It does not have to be apart from Krishna. So, thank you.
Questions during lunchtime?
Okay.
We did book distribution? No, yeah. Also recreation, right?
So for book distribution, we try to combine the fading acharya and book distribution. So two things we talked about, two questions. One is what keeps Srila Prabhupada alive? And of course, the answer is his books. But what makes his book special? Not because there's so many other books in the world. So what makes his book special is one, that it's the essence of all the scriptures given in a condensed, very simple manner with a lot of clarity that even a layman can understand. It's presented as it is, so there is no adulteration. It's Krishna's direct message. And Prabhupada was a true well-wisher of everybody. So there was no personal motivation for him. And we're following Parampara system. So it's very authentic books. And we can see the changes that it creates in people's lives. The second one was what happens if we stop distributing books in the next 10, 20, 50 years? What will be the ramification of it? So one is books are the basis, so the foundation will be lost. So once the foundation is gone, nothing can build on it. So whole society will collapse. There'll be a lot of misguidance. And his books are like GPS systems, so we don't know where we're going. And if we don't know where we're going, we're completely lost. And we're depriving even the next generation of the message that Srila Prabhupada has tried to come and give it. Hare Krishna.
Pretty good with time. It's such a big topic too, so sorry for the crunch that we have. Interesting topic. By far the most popular. Dealing with urges.
A big thank you to the note takers. You are like scribes like Ganesh. So we first established dealing, what it means to deal with the urges. And so we were talking about different ways like ignoring willfully or repressing, just blissful ignorance, seeing from the lens of Bhagavad Gita to recognize duality and tolerating it, and then redirecting or recognizing and reducing. We saw this as a very important topic because first and foremost, our conduct is a reflection of Srila Prabhupada. ISKCON is world famous as Srila Prabhupada's movement. So how we conduct ourselves is a reflection of our founder Acharya. Ideas of not wasting time, inevitable fall down as a pretender if we don't deal with urges. It's all there, and the groups did a fantastic job of highlighting different views. Advice they would give to all of us, based on their successful overcoming of urges at a certain point in time, are purification rests on hearing, chanting, association, and it's given to us by our founder Acharya primarily. Also, this was a very sweet point, that Srila Prabhupada gave us a process to connect with Krishna in the way of love and kindness, not have to or should, but a genuine platform of love. So we extend that love and kindness to ourselves, knowing Krishna's help is there. And keep good association. Hare Krishna.
All right, now we're all rid of urges. That's good. We'll move to, you had sharing spiritual realizations, devotee association.
Hare Krishna devotees. So there I have lots of notes from lots of discussion, but I'll summarize it as best as I can. So first is that for sharing spiritual relations, it can be between peers, it can be between seniors and juniors, where we ask advice from seniors for realizations, and the seniors share their relations to us. It can be both of these formats. So first thing for any sharing of spiritual relation to happen is to have right relationships. That means we need to pick right devotees to have relationships with, whether it can be peers or it can be advanced devotees also. Gopal Bhatta was also talking. So that's the important step. Keeping some sweet relationships are very, very important. For example, Shastras talk about like-minded association and devotees who are compassionate to us. For example, for advanced devotees when you're taking association, and then they must be well-wisher to us, and then they must also have guidance in their life from their mentor, from their spiritual master. They must also have been trained, especially if you're looking for advanced association. And then once you select the relationships, then seeing the opportunities for relationships, that can be having forums or personal one-on-one when we're having prasadam together, like that. And finally, about the how to share spiritual relations. Main thing is important relationship principles are in place, like a focus on spiritual topics, not mundane topics. Focus on Acharya principle. So we need to apply first before we share with others, and then practice ourselves carefully and hear carefully. Then we can share relations. Otherwise, we cannot share. And then finally, when somebody is sharing something confidential, we need to be empathic and not judgmental. So that way they can share.
Reading and studying techniques, Harish.
Hare Krishna. The topic was reading and studying techniques, and I broke it down into two simple groups. One, a group where devotees are struggling they have a little to no reading or studying techniques. So for them, the group suggested that they immediately join a support group, focus on discipline and time management, starting small but starting today, and promise yourself that you'll read at least 5 minutes every day. The second category of devotees who we chatted about were devotees who had issues with sustainability and taking the practice internal, taking what they've read internally. So for sustainability, the goals preferably should be 100% attendance, relationship with the book and the author, making sure this whole experience is enjoyable for you, and sandwiching this reading time, sandwiching your life between a morning and a night reading time. And for those who are struggling with internalization, take notes, a lot of notes, make a movie of what you're reading, and share some very nice summaries. But in essence, you make a movie and you share it, or you make a summary and you share it. Hare Krishna.
Some good points there. So now the practice of prayer. Vrindarani?
So we discussed practice of prayer, and my question mostly to the devotees were practice of prayer as a way of carrying on Srila Prabhupada's legacy. So one thing that we all sort of discussed and came was Srila Prabhupada not just wrote his books and translated Srimad Bhagavatam, but he also made sure he translated a lot of bhajans. So prayers in the form of our Acharya's bhajans. The Acharya's bhajans are full of tattva, rasa. They also give us the sambandha, the abhideya, and the prayojana. And not all of us are singers, so not all of us know the songs, but many of us do like to learn to, meditate on the translations. And so we were discussing about, okay, how, all these are inspirations that we get at the Vyasa Puja and the retreats that we go to. How do we make this a daily practice that doesn't go for a week long after the inspiration from these retreats, or maybe a New Year resolution and then just dwindles out? So we came up with some things like, forming small groups where devotees that are inclined to learning the Acharya's prayers can learn. Then there are prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam. There are verses and texts. Those that don't know to sing can ask for Shatarupa or Sri Rupa to sing once a week and learn the recorded songs. And I'll just finish with this. I really liked what Gopal Hari Prabhu said about fill yourself with Srila Prabhupada's words so that there's no place for your mind and intelligence. So that is what.
So we have a couple of more left. Prasadam distribution with Ganga Narayan.
Before you start the timer, I have a complaint. So if the topic would have been prasadam, I think we would have got a lot more registrants. Just like if it would have been recreation design, I'm sure you would have got fewer people than prasadam distribution. So I have a complaint there. You may start the timer now. So we focused on two topics. So 2 points. The first one was how does prasadam distribution connect oneself to the legacy of Srila Prabhupada? And how does it help progress or forward the legacy, move the legacy forward, and expand the legacy of Srila Prabhupada? And we had really nice discussions, starting with Srila Prabhupada in the heydays of the Hare Krishna movement. Of course, did kirtans, lots of prasadam. He himself used to cook prasadam, and a little bit of philosophy. And that was our movement. That was the basis of our movement. It was kirtan and prasadam movement. And building relationships through that medium of prasadam distribution, you build relationships. And also it offers a very low barrier to entry. Everybody loves prasadam. You know, prasadam is everybody's good friend. And prasadam is also spiritual in the sense that it's non different than holy name and book distribution. And so you are able to provide Krishna to people with very low barriers of entry. It's an easy way to build a bridge and build a relationship. And one very important point was about personal growth. Is somebody remarked that it's not just about doing prasadam because distributing prasadam because I like it, but also helps in one's own sadhana and going deeper into the practice of serving. Thank you very much.
Hello. Do you guys talk about distributing prasadam at work? Because we spend a lot of time at work, distributing prasadam at work. My fault, my bad.
Okay, so our topic was maintaining respect consistently. And we said that it demonstrates our love for Srila Prabhupada when we're able to maintain respect consistently and build a sense of community, which is what Prabhupada wants ISKCON to be, not just an institution, but a place where we feel inclusion and belonging. And then the second question we discussed was, what are some obstacles? And one big one that came up was familiarity. That it's very easy to be respectful to you, but the person you live with, the intimate relationships where there's most impact is the toughest. And finally, the last question we discussed is, what does support look like? What would it mean to us to have more support in this area of being consistently respectful? And somebody said it would be nice to have more seminars and like support groups to continue the learning. So here's where I want to give a plug-in for our Vaishnav etiquette seminar in Naperville on Valentine's Day weekend. Believe me, there's nothing better you could be doing for your Valentine than attending the seminar. She or he will thank you. So please come. Urmila Mataji is going to be here and Srila Prabhupada Swami. And to continue the learning, I'm going to, of course, plug in for empathic communication support groups, which happen every weekend. You're always welcome to join. These happen online and everybody's invited. And I'm done.
She's showing me respect by keeping time. She's the daughter of an Air Force person, so she's on time. Kriti Lakshmi.
So everybody in our group agreed that strong family ties help in our service to Srila Prabhupada. The points that the categories that were mentioned was appreciate family members, not only verbally, but recognize individual inclinations, giving space and encouraging them, assist in their pursuit, then being a good role model, in balancing bhakti with family responsibilities. One very nice example that was given was Sudama Brahmana. He went to Krishna not both to please Krishna and his wife. Another one is not just wash pots in the temple, but also wash at home. Another one is have clear intention and proper mood. Some of the practical activities that were given were going on yatra, doing aarti with family, story time, reading, attending temple, bhakti rikshas as a family, going for festivals, and many more. So these were some that came up.
Take this with you. Take it with you. Take it. You might be the last. Oh, no, Varsan is done. Okay, this is the last one. This is on time management, which we've done really well with, right? Nakandanam, what do you think? No pressure.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So now I can take all the time I want. So first of all, Gopal Bhatta Prabhu, he started off amazing. So I was really inspired to hear that presentation. And then we have great acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, wonderful models. So as we discussed, probably most of us have one or the other challenges in this. So schedule and plan for the day, write it down, actually put it down. Prioritize and plan the whole day around those priorities, like Guru Maharaj says, the sankalpa, why we are doing. And then once we have the plan, lack of consistency. Okay, we have a great plan, but I'm not able to keep up. I may follow for a couple days, and then boom, I'm done. And I'm like, okay, forget about it. I'm not going to do anything. So for that, we said too ambitious. So we can try to have a realistic plan, must have and nice to have, small and realistic goals. And also for some reading or other things, we can have a weekly goals if you're not able to do every single day. And the last point, struggle with social media and whatever. So we actually said, I don't know if it's approved by Guru Maharaj. We said, put a time on your day, in your schedule for mindless scrolling and tell your mind, this is the only time you get to actually do whatever nonsense garbage you want to do. So, yeah.
On that wonderful note, summarize in 1 minute. My heart is moved by the sincerity of the devotees that want to propagate Prabhupada's movement into the future. And I would be very blessed if those who would like to continue this conversation and have little support groups and thought leadership groups to go. To keep moving forward, please get in touch with me, and my 1 minute is up. Next is Prasadam, but before that, Akhandanam has some closing remarks. Hare Krishna, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha.
Hare Krishna, thank you all for attending this. This is a very different Vyasa Puja event. We had a record number of attendees yesterday. I think almost 450 to 500 devotees came for this event. Please pray that it keeps growing like this every year with everyone's support. This time, there was no disciples, Ishtagoshti, or Maharaj opening gifts. Maharaj is removing the attention from him and clearly in different areas. And I hope everyone can appreciate the mood of where Maharaj is taking this. We had to remind him at one point that this is his Vyasa Puja when the schedule is being put together. And, it's a huge thanks to Shyamsundar Prabhu, Gopal Bhatta Prabhu, Kuladri Prabhu for really grounding us and reminding us the importance of Srila Prabhupada. Putting on an event like this requires the encouragement of many, many devotees. There's new challenges, breakthroughs every single year that come up. And there's so many devotees that make that happen. Nityapriya, I want to thank the below teams. The teams in charge of serving devotees delicious prasadam, cooking, boga shopping, meal setup, serve out, clean up, kitchen, pots, vegetable cut up. The team's tasked with creating a festive atmosphere with all the decor that you see in the temple, deity dressing, garlands, vases, temple decor. The team's responsible for making the event run smoothly. Tech team, our wonderful MCs, photography, videography, event fundraising. Our temple president, Premananda Mataji, who always opens up this temple for events like these. A huge thank you to her. Nityanand Pran Prabhu and Himangi Mataji are pillars of support and guides for an event like this. Trust me, there's a lot of conflicts that occur behind the scenes, and they're there at every step of the way to help resolve them. And I want to thank our kids for just letting us be here and help organize this event as much as possible. Before you leave, two logistical things. Please collect your return gifts from Govinda Mohini Mataji, who is standing right there with the return gifts. They're wonderfully designed return gifts. And for any donations you have from Maharaj, please give them to me or to Govinda Mohini Mataji. Enjoy prasadam, and we'll see you next year. Hare Krishna.
I just want to add a huge applause for Akhandanam Prabhu and Nityapriya. All four of them were sick in bed with flu. All four of them were completely down in the family, and still they're able to. It's just so heart-moving. Thank you.
That's exactly what I was going to say. But I will still say that because Akhandanam and Nityapriya have, I mean, years ago I did this service and it has passed on and it has reached their hands, and I'm seeing year after year after year such a perfect job. You know, this year also the whole family is sick and everything, but still everything, you know, they have given their heart and soul in organizing. And this year, as you said, it was a larger gathering, and the whole shape of presentations, everything had changed. And thank you so very, very much. You are really so precious. And please tell that. And also you are able to put together the team who is serving in so many areas, and that has been excellent as well. Over the years, you know, you have learned so much, and I'm so happy to see this because they're like my children. They grew up in my class, you know, in the Gita camp, and seeing them do this is like really make me so happy at heart. And thank you all for coming, and thank you. It's like a very rarely once in a year opportunity to meet many devotees from various parts of this country, and I'm so very grateful that you are all coming here. And by the mercy of Shri Shri Radha Shyamasundar, you know, it's such a happy occasion. Thank you all. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Notebooks from facilitators back to Shelga. Thank you.